Okay, so good evening, everyone. Tonight, the chapter is from Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, Single-Minded Way. So he starts off saying, the purpose of my talk is not to give you some intellectual understanding, but to express my appreciation for our Zen practice. To be able to sit with you in Zazen is very unusual, and actually Buddha said to appreciate our human life, the depth of our human life, is as rare as soil on your fingernail. So I guess for me, after all the years, it seems it's rare because we're so attached to our small container of self that we are deeply conditioned to think that we actually are. And, we're conditioned also to be afraid of its being threatened to the degree that Suzuki Roshi once said that we wonder why we suffer. And he said it's because we spend like 99% of our time trying to protect, enhance, and find security in this small self. And there isn't one. Some other ways I think that we can appreciate, opening to the possibility that we are much more than a separate self. Is go back to the fundamentals with our breathing and back to what Suzuki Roshi talked about in that chapter. He said, when we breathe, the air comes from the outer world into the inner world on the inhale, and on the exhale, it goes from the inner world back into the outer world. And we say inner and outer world, but actually, the inner and outer world are both boundless. So we say there's inner and outer, but actually there's just one whole world, which means there is no boundary between the inner and the outer, and there's no boundary between me and you, between our being and all beings. So this means no separation. And even though this is still hard to comprehend, even for old, experienced students, the wonder of it all, And he goes on to say in that talk on breathing, he says, when we say, I breathe, the I is extra. Really, what's happening is when we breathe, we're just a swinging door, he says, the air coming in and out through our throat. So the I is just an added on to the experience of just being that swinging door. So to me, a very powerful way of expressing the appreciation of our true nature, our whole being, is to appreciate the joy and freedom of just being this swinging door. Being the joy and the vitality of exploring the nature of ourself without adding the extra idea of a separate self. So isn't he really saying here that not just when we breathe, but in all our daily activities, he says when we cook, when we walk, when we eat, when we sleep, that idea of being the doer, that I is extra. So in the recognition of our shared being, in Buddha's morning great enlightenment, he said, I and all beings together attain the way. There's great faith in that statement, but it's not faith as a state of mind, it's faith as the recognition of his whole being, our whole being together. You know, and so when we studied Reb Anderson's book a couple years ago, he put a lot of emphasis, you know, in the study of the paramitas, the 6 perfections. He put a lot of emphasis on we don't do anything by ourselves. We do it together with all beings. So as Suzuki Roshi said, the ultimate fact is that we are here right now. And Thich Nhat Hanh, who I've studied with for many years also, puts a lot of emphasis on realizing that we already have everything we need to be happy right now, here, in this present moment. So the present moment, the here and now, sometimes we talk about how it's always now. When has it ever not been now? And when have we ever not been here? Part of the wonder that we can appreciate is the wonder of just being in this boundless space. Walk outside. I try to spend at least an hour or two. I have a new puppy, so we spend a lot of time outside. Just walking in nature under the vast sky. And the wonder of that, and the wonder of it always being now. You know, no now is any different than any other now. Now doesn't have duration. It's not coming from the past. It's not moving into the future. And here is not a place in space. There's an exercise that a teacher I like, Rupert Spira, says, if you stand up and try to take a step towards yourself, do you come any closer to yourself? That's part of what Suzuki was saying in this chapter. Even if the sun was to rise from the west, the Bodhisattva remains in the changeless and timeless, the single-minded way. So, you know, to explore the wonders of this, the mysteries of this, it really helps to have that discipline of the practice to allow our attention to fall back, to relax back, and rest in our being, in our essential being. And we can learn to live these mysterious questions that, you know, I enjoy talking about it, but I don't really know the answers to these questions that I'm putting out here for you either, you know. But somehow the contemplation of it, and I have no idea how it happens, but it does lead to a sense of our experience being transparent to our being, you know, to our being ourself. Zen teachers say, be yourself. When have we ever not been ourselves? When have we ever not been here as the very expression of here and now? So how could we ever acquire, when Suzuki Roshi says we don't practice to attain something, we don't act in preparation for something other than being here and now. But these questions and the growing intuitive transparency of our lives to just ever-presence, dimensionless ever-presence, it leads to really, how could we ever be removed from here and now? How could we ever attain here and now? We've always been this. So he moves on to talking about the railway track. He says the railway track is considered, in some aspects of Buddhist teaching, is considered 1,000 miles long and is called the single-minded way and is always the same. So I guess you could say it's a metaphor for our Buddha nature. Always the same. Sometimes people describe it as the other side of reality, that which doesn't change. Or like they'll use a metaphor of a movie screen in the movie. People say, why can't I get enlightenment? And one Zen master would say, well, think of your life as a movie on the screen, and your true nature is what makes your life possible, the screen. So when you're trying to find enlightenment, it's like you're trying to find an event in the movie that will give you lasting peace. And so what Buddha was really saying in some ways is saying, realize what the source of you actually is that's always here. It's not an event in your life. It's the presence that makes your life possible. It's the screen that makes the movie possible. No event in the movie affects the screen. It's not a perfect metaphor, but sometimes it can give us some intuitive insights of the futility of trying to seek for what we already are. So one teacher, I remember starting to read many years ago about how you're already enlightened, but you just don't know it. And then another teacher about 10 or 15 years ago said, it's not just that you already are it and you don't know it. You know it, but you won't admit it. And that kind of opened my eyes a little bit. Okay, well, I'd like to admit it. I want to admit it. I want to know, I want to believe it. But you can't really believe it. Like one of Gary's favorite books, Buddhism Without Beliefs. You can't really believe it because, again, you can't have faith in it as a state of mind. It has to be an experience of being, a state of being or whatever. But you could say we know our experience, right? We know it in terms of being aware of it, of experiencing it or witnessing it. But we're so convinced that we are this separate body mind and that there is a world out there. We can't admit that maybe it is always now. And we all already are here, and we can't attain anything other than being here and now. So Reb would say, but we can learn how to accept suffering, because the boundary of what we can accept is the boundary of our freedom. So what it comes down to, if we can accept it, see that even suffering is transparent to our being. Or, as Joko Beck says, enlightenment, in one sense, she says enlightenment is realizing that life is not anything other than what it is. What is. And living in harmony with that. And one of her famous quotes is, joy is what's happening minus our opinion of it. And so one of the greatest joys we can have is recognizing our shared being and spreading the good news that it's okay. It's okay that our lives involve suffering. But if we can really learn how to accept it, it's not really suffering. It's difficulty, but there's great joy in being able to recognize our shared being with others. and to dedicate our life and offer our experience to the Buddha, to God, or whatever we want to call this great mystery. But we offer it for the welfare of all beings together. There's no secret, as he says. There's no true thoughts about it, because thought can't grasp or separate anything. But our being is what is. Our being, as one teacher said, our being, it's the amness of all selves, the isness of all things. But it's still, all of it is our being together. Thank you. So we have some time for discussion. Looks so spacious in there.
Thank you, Shiken. I appreciate your talk very much. What came up for me is a teaching by Alan Watts that I heard many, many years ago. And he spoke about the fleetingness of the present moment. You know, it just goes and it goes and it. And he said, basically, we're viewing our lives as if looking in a rear view mirror, because by the time we become fully aware of each moment, the next one's here, the next one's here. So it's this wonderful stream that we're floating in, or washing away in, however you want to see it. But it's so fast. You know, we're born, and guess what? One day we have gray hair, and where does the time go? But I appreciate that our practice has helped me to just focus, you know, right here, and be confident that I'll get to the next moment and the next one and the next one. And if there's a problem with the solution, that it will manifest somehow through all of this. That it's great patience is important. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Jishin. Alan Watts, by the way, has reappeared on YouTube lately.
Oh no, he's not dead yet?
He died, actually, where I practiced for a while at Green Gulch Farm in Marin County, California.
Yeah.
His stupa is there. He died in 1973.
Yeah.
And he was only 58 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But he's reappeared on YouTube, and he's giving these, I don't know if it's really his voice or if it's dubbed in or if it's recordings of him. I don't know. But it's very good wisdom talks. Interesting.
Yeah.
Just look him up on YouTube if you want to hear someone who is aware of what's been going on in our culture, the kind of the continuity of stuff that's still here now with us. Yeah. So.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your talk. When you refer to making an offer to God or the Buddha or whatever we might choose to call the mystery, it reminds me of the Torah, or otherwise the Old Testament, when Moses is on top of Mount Sinai and asks God, "Who shall I tell them you are?" And his answer is, "I am," which is a singular conjugation of the verb to be. It's like saying, "I am life itself." Thank you.
Yeah, there's a scene in the 50s movie, Cecil B. DeMille's 10 Commandments, where Charlton Heston goes up there. And I remember, he says, Moses asked him, God, they're going to ask me, well, who gave you this staff, and who's giving you all this power? What should I tell them? Who should I say sent me? And he says, tell them I am that I am. Tell them I am sent you, like you said. And that's in another kind of the wisdom branch of Hinduism and Vedanta. They stay with a sense of just I am is the main practice, which is also just the same as being here now. But thank you for that. Yeah. Hi.
Can you see me? Hi.
Is that Colleen?
Yes.
Good to
I
see
really
you.
enjoyed. Good to see you. I enjoyed your pauses as you taught. I really thought those quiet moments in your talking said a lot as well. And then you said something about 1,000-mile road, and it brought me to a memory of a dream I had when I was 16. One that kind of always stuck with me is I was on this roller coaster, and in this roller coaster it went underwater, and it was kind of wild, and at moments you thought, I don't think I'm ever going to make it. And so I finished that ride, and then I'm on the same roller coaster again, but this time I'm sitting in the front and all different people are there, and they're kind of like nervous about what they're going to see, and I'm there like, guys, it's going to be okay. I've done this ride before. You're all going to be okay. Let's just put our hands up and enjoy the ride. And it was just kind of, it's kind of one that stuck with me, but I kind of look at that through life as like, just put your hands up and enjoy the ride. And like, just be in the being and enjoy your moments. And even if you're in a little bit of pain, like, enjoy that human experience of pain or whatever it is. It's just a fleeting moment. You're gonna be okay, and just find that grace and that love with yourself. So that dream kind of popped up in my head when I was listening to you, so thank you.
Wow, yeah, that sounds like that dream, Colleen, was about the awakening to the flow of impermanence and how the railway track, we can't get off the train, right? We're always on it the whole life. Yeah, so enjoy it.
So, Shikha, thank you for your talk. And then you started with nothing stable or lasting, and then you went to that Buddha nature is always present, always here, and there's no difference. And this entry to anicca, that everything is uncertain and impermanent and in a constant movement, and then all the khandhas, and this is the practice, like to I teach meditation in the morning, and it helps me the most, teaching. I'm giving instruction to myself and to people. And this morning it was this about watching for the waiting for the things to end. Like, this is a very strong habit of the mind, and then just bring attention to this and the practice and practice. Like this tendency that it's in my mind and it's in the mind of the students also. This what's next? The first, just even be aware of this waiting for something to end, and it goes, because we were saying about, and Jishin always saying about the moment by moment experience. But how many times during the day we do something and we're waiting for this to end. Just this, even not waiting for the next, but just waiting for this what we do to end. You know?
Yeah.
And that's inside. So, well, this is a practice. I just want to share this with you.
Yeah, well, that's a good observation, you know, because he's saying what we're doing is not in preparation for something else. So, yeah, waiting for something to end is another way of saying we want to get done. We want to be done with whatever, but there's no end to the practice, you know. So, yeah, thank you.
Hi, Roger. This is Fred. I don't know if you remember me, but from way back when.
Fred Fiji's?
Yes, yes.
Wow, no kidding. I can't see you, but great. Hello.
Hello, I'm here. Well, I'm here, I guess.
All right.
No, but anyway, this sort of reminds me that when I was in college, I hitched a ride between my home and campus. It was like 20-mile ride. And I got into this discussion with this guy who was giving me a ride. And I was telling him how I and some friends had sort of like created this kind of social group that was really exciting, and you know, we really enjoyed each other's company and so on. But I was leaving for school, and I wouldn't see them. You know, I wasn't going to see them. And you know, it's sort of funny because he's basically told me, hey, look at permanency is not a measure of success. And I thought about that. Permanency is not a measure of success. Basically, is that things exist, and they exist for the moment, and that in itself should be valued and enjoyed, and you don't come back to it and judge it whether or not, hey, that was a success or not a success. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Good to hear from you.
So we are coming to the end of our time together. Does anyone in the cloud or in the dirt sendo have anything else they'd like to offer? If not, Kishan, could you please tell us who is with us in the cloud tonight?
Yes, it's a mystery, a great mystery. We are figments of your imagination. We have a fairly new person, Matt, but we can't see him. But he's here, and Roger is here, and Walter is here, and Xochi is here, and Cindy is here, and I am here.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Mhm.
We have some new people too. We have Fred, who's really, you're more of a returning person.
Yeah.
So Fred and Adam has returned also. So we have two returning people. And I wanted to welcome Anya